Many thanks, Will. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his North Korean counterpart Kim Jong-un have signed an agreement pledging that Russia and North Korea will help each other in the event of aggression against either country. The announcement was made by the Russian president following talks with Mr. Kim during his visit to Pyongyang, his first in 24 years. Here's Simon Puser with other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Vladimir Putin says Russia and North Korea have signed a deal to help each other in the event of aggression against them. Kim Jong-un has said he fully supports Russia's invasion of Ukraine as Mr. Putin visits North Korea after 24 years. The Russian leader was welcomed in a lavish formal ceremony featuring singing children, military walks and a parade through the streets. Gifts were exchanged too, with Mr. Kim reportedly receiving yet another luxury car, an Admiral's dagger and a tea set. The US and South Korea accused the North of supplying Russia with artillery ammunition in exchange for food and military aid, something both countries deny. South Africa has begun a new era, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced as he was sworn in for a second full term in office. He remains in office even though his party, the African National Congress, failed to secure a majority in parliament during last month's election. The ANC subsequently made a deal with its longtime rival Democratic Alliance and other parties to form a coalition government. Mr. Ramaphosa hailed this government during his inauguration speech, but also warned that unless it addressed deep inequalities, the country could become unstable.
In our brilliant diversity as South Africans, we gather to affirm our solemn conviction that this country belongs to all who live in it.
Chad's health minister has said a huge fire at a military ammunition depot has killed at least 9 people and injured 46 others. The death toll was in danger of rising as many of those wounded were in an extremely serious condition. The explosions from the depot in the Guji area of the capital N'Djamena lasted for about half an hour overnight. Video footage showed them lighting up the night sky, with witnesses saying they could be heard miles away. The weapons depot in Guji is the country's main arsenal and is in the north of the city near their military headquarters, a French army base and the airport. State news agencies have reported that a Russian court has sentenced a US soldier to 3 years and 9 months in jail on charges of theft and threatening to kill his girlfriend. Staff Sergeant Gordon Black was sentenced by a court in Vladivostok in Russia's Far East and will serve his time in a penal colony. Sergeant Black, who was arrested in May, had pleaded not guilty to the murder threat charges, but admitted he was partially guilty of stealing 10,000 rubles or £89 from her. He will appeal the verdict. Boeing's chief executive Dave Calhoun has faced a grilling from US senators about the company's culture as he apologized to family members of plane crash victims who shouted at him throughout the hearing.
On behalf of
Mr. Calhoun testified to Congress that the company had learned from past mistakes and that the process for employee whistleblowers works. But lawmakers still accused him of not doing enough to rectify a culture of retaliation. The US company most recently was put in the spotlight when a door panel fell off a new 737 MAX plane during an Alaska Airlines flight in January. India's capital Delhi is reeling under a prolonged heat wave that has sent power demand soaring to a record 8,647 megawatts this week. Temperatures have hovered around 44 to 45 degrees Celsius in the city and other parts of northern India for weeks. The widespread use of cooling appliances such as air conditioners has put pressure on resources, leading to frequent power outages in Delhi. Delhi's electricity demand has broken many records this season, first on the 22nd of May when it touched 8,000 megawatts. And the baseball world has saluted the achievements of Willie Mays, widely considered one of the sport's best ever players after his death at the age of 93. Mays was twice declared the league's most valuable player and won the World Series with the New York Giants in 1954.
There's a long drive, way back in center field, way back, it is.
His famous catch during the championship remains one of the most iconic plays ever seen in America's so-called national pastime. Nicknamed the Say Hey Kid, the center fielder had been baseball's oldest living Hall of Famer. His death was announced with great sadness by his former team, who are now the San Francisco Giants. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.